Imagine walking through a dense forest, where sunlight barely kisses the ground and trees whisper secrets to each other. You hear fallen leaves crunch beneath your feet, then stumble upon a small, unassuming monastery in a hidden clearing. Inside, a monk sits alone, eyes closed, not moving, yet a sense of motion surrounds him, as if the universe bends in his presence. Have you ever wondered why some lives leave footprints in eternity while others vanish like mist? What if the secret lies not in what we achieve, but in how we touch the world around us without even trying? This is the story of one monk, whose life teaches a lesson you will carry with you long after the screen goes dark. Years ago, in a small village on the edge of the mountains, there was a young monk named Ananda, whose presence was like a candle in a storm. People said he never seemed troubled, no matter how harsh the winds of life blew. His days were simple, rising with the sun, sweeping the monastery floor, tending to the garden, chanting and meditating. But his simplicity held a depth that left outsiders both inspired and puzzled. One day, a wealthy merchant came to the village, burdened by debts, losses, and broken dreams. He had traveled far seeking solutions, hoping for a magic answer, a secret that would untangle the knots of his life. When he arrived at the monastery, he found Ananda quietly sitting by a small pond, watching the ripples distort the reflection of the sky. "I have traveled across kingdoms," the merchant said. "I have consulted the greatest minds, yet I am still lost. Tell me, how do I find peace?" Ananda smiled softly, as if the question had been waiting for him. He did not rise, he did not lecture, yet the silence itself seemed to speak. He gestured to the pond and asked, "Do you see the ripples?" The merchant nodded. "And yet beneath them the water is still," the monk said. "Do you understand?" The merchant shook his head, frustration mixing with curiosity. Ananda continued, "Life is like these ripples. Every worry, loss, joy, and pain disturbs the surface, yet beneath your essence remains untouched. You seek answers outside yourself when the truth is always within. To touch eternity, you do not need gold or fame. You need to recognize the stillness that has always been part of you." The merchant tried to grasp the idea, but it slipped away like water through his fingers. Days passed and he stayed at the monastery, helping in the garden, observing Ananda. Slowly he began to notice the way the monk treated every leaf, every stone, every creature with reverence. Even the smallest blade of grass seemed to hold a story. The merchant realized that Ananda did not chase peace. He embodied it. Peace, he understood, was not a destination but a way of being. One afternoon, while walking near the cliffs overlooking the valley, the merchant asked, "Monk, how do you remain so unshakable when life is full of suffering?" Ananda gazed at the horizon where the sun melted into the mountains and said, "Suffering is inevitable, like storms that visit every tree. You cannot stop the wind, nor can you stop the rain, yet you can choose how you stand in it.
Will you be bent and broken, or will you root yourself deeper into the earth, unyielding and calm?"
He paused, letting the words sink like seeds into the merchant's mind. The mind that obsesses over fear or loss is like a leaf tossed in the storm, powerless and anxious. The mind that learns to witness, to accept, and to move with life's currents becomes like the mountain itself, steady, patient, eternal. That night, the merchant slept by the fire, thinking. He realized that every fear he had carried, every resentment, every ambition that was not his own, was like baggage he lugged across the wilderness. Ananda's simple presence was a mirror, reflecting what he had ignored for decades. The next morning, as mist wove through the trees like silk, Ananda led him to a nearby stream. He handed the merchant a small clay cup and asked him to drink. The water was cold and pure. "Every drop of water touches many stones before reaching you," the monk said. "Yet it does not carry the stone's burdens. It flows freely, serving life without attachment. Learn to live like water. Touch the world without clinging. Flow without fear, without needing approval, without demanding recognition. In this way, you remain untainted no matter what comes." The merchant felt a strange relief, a weight lifting that he had forgotten existed. Days turned into weeks, and slowly he began to practice the monk's teachings. He swept floors not as a chore but as an act of devotion. He observed his thoughts without judgment, like clouds passing in the sky. He learned that anger, fear, and grief were not enemies, but signals, moments to pause, reflect, and choose a different response. One evening, sitting under a blooming cherry tree, the merchant finally understood the twist he had not expected. The monk had never given him advice in the form of rules, nor had he offered formulas for success. What the merchant carried home was invisible yet potent, the understanding that life itself, and its simplest acts and quiet observations, contained the wisdom of eternity. The merchant asked, "Monk, I feel changed, yet I am unsure why. What have you taught me?" Ananda smiled, the corners of his eyes crinkling like the surface of the pond. "I taught you nothing," he said. "I simply showed you how to see. Knowledge is not teaching. It is remembering. You remembered what was already within you. The world is a mirror reflecting back what your heart is ready to perceive." That night, the merchant walked alone under the stars, seeing every flicker of light, every shadow with new eyes. He realized that the true wealth of life is not in treasures or accolades, but in presence. To witness fully, to touch gently, to live consciously, this is what leaves a mark on eternity. He returned to the village transformed, carrying no gold yet richer than kings, because he had discovered a secret that cannot be stolen or destroyed: the power of the still mind and the open heart. Years later, he would share this story with travelers, merchants and villagers alike, and in every telling, the story took on new life, new dimensions, because its truth was alive, not confined to words. And this is where the monk's story becomes your story. How often do we search outside ourselves for solutions that are already within? How often do we let the ripples of fear, desire, or regret blind us to the stillness beneath? Every challenge you face, every loss, every heartache is an opportunity to root yourself deeper, to notice the flow of life without clinging, to move through the storm like water touching stones, resilient, adaptable, graceful. Imagine a day where you begin with this awareness, that your mind can be a pond, serene and reflective, no matter the wind. That your actions, however small, can be acts of devotion, leaving ripples of peace in the lives of others. That every thought you observe without judgment strengthens the mountain within you. The monk did not need to speak much because life itself was his teacher, and he offered the same gift to anyone willing to watch, to pause, to remember. We are all travelers in the same forest, finding insight in nature, books, or moments of silence. What matters is if we see them, if we drink from streams of awareness flowing through our days. This story stays with you. It's not about a monk or merchant, but the eternal possibility each of us carries. To transform ordinary moments into glimpses of the infinite, to let suffering teach without breaking us. To touch life without needing to possess it. You may never sweep monastery floors, chant early, or sit by a pond. Yet this lesson's essence is yours to claim. In your work, relationships, and struggles, you can practice presence, kindness, and clarity. You can learn to flow like water, witness like the mountain, and touch life without attachment. Here's the twist. The peace we chase isn't ahead. It's beneath our consciousness, like a pond undisturbed, waiting. When fear arises, let it ripple across the surface, but do not disturb your depths. When joy blooms, let it flow through you without clinging. When life's storms rage, anchor yourself to the mountain within and move with the currents, not against them. Every choice becomes a brushstroke, painting the portrait of your life with intention and grace. Imagine the ripple effect of living this way. People around you feel your calm, your clarity, your presence. Conversations change. Decisions become lighter. Challenges are met with patience rather than panic. This is the legacy of the monk, the invisible footprint he leaves on the world, and it is yours to carry. So ask yourself tonight, as you lie awake and hear the silence of your own room, what ripples am I creating? What shadows of fear or desire am I holding on to? What stillness beneath the surface have I forgotten to notice? And then breathe. Watch the stars, watch the clouds, watch the reflections in the nearest water you can find. Remember that life in its simplicity contains all the answers you seek. The monk's story stays with you forever because it is not a story of someone else. It is a mirror for your own journey, a guide not to be followed but to be realized within. And as you go forward, carry this awareness with you. You are both the pond and the stone, the mountain and the stream, observer and participant. You can touch life, transform pain, and embody peace simply by remembering who you are beneath the ripples. Every step, every choice, every act of stillness, every moment of mindful presence is a touch of infinity. Let the ripple of this story expand in your heart and notice how it changes the way you move through the world. And if this story has touched something deep within you, leave a comment below sharing your reflections. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. like it to help others find it. And subscribe to Echoes of Greatness for more stories that inspire, awaken, and guide you to live with clarity, presence, and courage. You just have to pause, observe, and let the ripples remind you that your essence has always been untouched, infinite, and capable of holding peace in the midst of any storm.